there's no scenario I can envision league settings wise where I wouldn't be taking this guy at the 101.
In winner.
I could be,
And I would take a flyer at this point because I personally don't see another receiver that stands out to me over taking a shot with Fernando.
okay.
All right, welcome back to the desk. Oh man,
Welcome, folks.
what do we got on the docket today?
We're doing our first delve into the rookies, which I know is coming pretty late. It's already April. So rookie picks are starting to trend towards their peak. And we wanted to come out with our mock draft, just going back and forth, looking at this rookie class. If we were going to stick and pick at every single slot for the first 2 rounds, who goes where?
Yep.
And we're going to assume, neutral builds, superflex, PPR, half point tight end premium, sort of your 12 team start 10 league as the basis for the video. Do you want to kick us off with pick number 1? This should be a pretty easy one, I think.
Yeah, definitely Kenyon Sadiq. Jeremiah Love, pretty simple. I think far and away the best prospect in this draft. Enough said.
Yeah, he may be the best prospect in the whole NFL draft, certainly for fantasy purposes.
Yes.
Not a whole lot to talk about there. I would say that there's no scenario I can envision league settings wise where I wouldn't be taking this guy at the 101. I could be in a 14 team, have to start 2 quarterbacks leagues where my quarterbacks are 9 and Jameis Winston. If I was forced to stick and pick at the 101, it would be Jeremiah Love. If I felt like I needed a quarterback, I would trade the pick. I would not take Mendoza here. There's no amount of wide receiver depth I could lack that would make me take a wide receiver here.
Yeah. All right. Number
that being said, going into the 102, I do think there start to be options. For me personally, there's 2 guys here. I'm going to take the one I like a little bit better, but landing spot could determine which one I would actually go with in the draft. I'm going to sneak in and take Mekhi Lemon. I like the slot usage. I like the JSN comps. I like the Amon-Ra St. Brown comps. It could be a little while before he manifests fully, but I think he's really versatile. And I just like that high PPR floor you get from those kind of receivers.
I like it. I think for my number 2 here, I would go ahead and take Fernando. I know he's going to be a Raider, which is historically just a god-awful landing spot for everyone. But you know what? He's got young talent around him, and the dude's a freaking winner. And I would take a flyer at this point because I personally don't see another receiver that stands out to me over taking a shot with Fernando.
Okay. This is probably one spot before I would take Mendoza, just because of the Cousins signing. I think there's enough indications that he might sit for a considerable portion of the year before he starts. But that's kind of my only reservation with him. I do think he's going to go as the 101. He's going to eventually get the starting job, and I think he'll have weapons when he's there. So I don't hate the pick, especially if you're quarterback desperate. But I do like Carnell Tate. He would have been my 103. I'm happy to get him here at the 104. And for me, that ends the tier break for receivers that I'm super confident in. There are some other guys I like the upside for.
Yep. I'm going to go out on an unpopular opinion on this next one. I'm taking Denzel Boston. The dude.
All right.
The dude's build is ridiculous. Like what, 6'4", what was it, 218 or something? I mean,
He's big, he's fast.
ran
He's got
solid at the
hands.
combine. Like, he's got hands. I don't see a ton of like, I look at the guys on the board there. Sadiq is also an athletic freak, don't get me wrong, but to me, Sadiq is a little more unpolished at his position where tight end requires a little more blocking, a little more finesse, whereas Boston's not going to be in that position. And I think he's going to be a red zone freaking target. So, I mean, clearly this is all pre-landing spots in the NFL draft, but yeah, I would sitting right now with, no idea where guys are landing. I love it.
I, hey, it gives me a spot to take the guy that I was really hoping fell to 6. Uh, and that would be the other athletic freak you just mentioned, Kenyon Sadiq. I think that in a tight end premium league, he's going to go somewhere where he can really rack up points. Tight ends are historically really safe picks as well. Everybody kind of knows they take some time to develop. So if they come out of the gate slow, they kind of get a year of grace period where they
Mhm.
maintain value. But if they happen to come out hot, like Tyler Warren did last year at the
Right.
start of the year, or Colston Loveland at the end of the year, or Harold Fannin, they really gain a lot of value. So I like that stability with the 106.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't see a ton of variation in my receiver options. I would love to hear your opinion on that. But, oh, go ahead.
Nope, I was gonna say the same thing basically as you. I think the
Right.
ceiling for Jordan Tyson might be really high
Hmm.
if he can stay healthy, but the
Correct.
injury concerns put him in a similar range. If all 3 of these guys got first round draft capital, they're picked in the top 32,
Mhm.
then it would probably be best landing spot for me.
Yes.
But go ahead and take your pick.
Once again, without landing spot, I would say Jordan Tyson. But that's truly to me I look at those 3 and I see which one's in the best situation.
Yep. I saw some amazing PFF scores for separation for Casey Concepcion. I also watched him play a lot of games when he was at NC State.
Hmm.
So, for me, it's a little bit of a my guy pick. I'm happy to have him here at 8, but I would agree, depending on landing spot, that could shift around a little bit.
Yeah. And for me, my next one, I would take Jadarian Price. I know he was a
Okay.
backup behind Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame, but the dude's a solid one cut downhill runner. And I think if he ended up in the right situation, I don't see him being the number one, like pure A running back his first year. But I think there's plenty of teams that need that style of runner. And I
Yep.
mean, if you look at Detroit the last few years, David Montgomery was still a very solid back behind a Jameer Gibbs. And I could
Yep.
see a similar situation for Jadarian Price going to a team that has a, dynamic scat back kind of guy, but when they get 10 yards or in, they're putting in the
All of a
guy who can
sudden,
put
he's
the ball
hawking touchdowns.
in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
there's a world where he goes at the end of the first round to the Seattle Seahawks, and all of a sudden he's
Yep.
like a top 6, top 7
Yep.
pick. Um, there's a world where he falls a couple of picks later to the Titans, and I'm not quite as excited about it, but you
Exactly.
know, we'll see what the situation is. I do think he is the second best running back in this class, talent wise. And I think Coleman is actually pretty close. That will be my pick here. I like his receiving upside. Um, Again, landing spot dependent. If either of these guys end up on the Seahawks, the Vikings, something like that, sky's the limit. Um, if they get stuck in a really uncertain committee, maybe we'll
Mhm.
let them pass.
Yep.
One more pick left in the first round for you. What do you think?
One more pick in the first round. You know, you took Sadiq earlier, and I fully agree from an athletic standpoint. The dude is just out of this world. From a pure tight end standpoint, I like Stowers. I think I would take Stowers late in the first year coming out of Vanderbilt. great route runner, great hands. I think he could end up in a situation. I know they're talking about him potentially going to Denver. Going to a team that I think if he let me say it this way, if he ended up at Denver, I would love to have him at the end of the first round.
Yeah,
So right situation, I think he's going to be a very solid tight end in the NFL.
I like the Stowers pick there as well. I think he is the Colston Loveland of this class, where he is more of a receiving tight end than a blocking tight end.
Mhm,
And in terms of fantasy numbers, that's perfectly fine.
mhm.
So I like the pick there. I'll go ahead and take Omar Cooper. I think that's probably the last
Yeah.
wide receiver where talent wise, I could see the breakout. I could see him being in that range this time next year where Lad McConkey is or Emeka Egbuka is if things break right for him.
Mhm,
I don't see the floor. He could be down there with Travis Hunter and Michael Pittman and drop value and all that stuff as well. But yeah, happy to have him. And there's a world, I think, where if he goes to the 49ers, again, he jumps up right here
mhm.
to like that 106, 107 range where he's in contention for a breakout.
Well, he was in that range of 3 where we were talking about earlier. But, before we stop this video, like, I will say, I'm not convinced that we have a stud wide receiver in this class. I mean,
Okay.
I think Lemon is the closest one,
Yep.
and I think any of them could be successful depending on landing spot. But I don't see look at this class and say, "Man, whoever gets X, whoa, they're set." Like I
Yep.
have in previous drafts. It just seems to be like, the slot receiver's pretty prolific, or, Boston who's super tall but isn't as refined or isn't as fast. Like there's not this guy that is super tall, strong, fast, great hands, boom, 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 that you're thinking, holy crap, like on paper, this dude is insane. I think Sadiq's the closest guy in this class to
To
that
that.
makeup over any of the receivers.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I would agree. I don't see a DeAndre Hopkins, a Julio Jones Des Bryant type receiver in this
Mhm,
class. Um, Boston's probably got the closest physical traits
mhm,
to being able to do that. I'm interested to see what Carnell Tate does. There are a lot of those Ohio State receivers that have looked okay as prospects, but they only look okay because that wide receiver room at Ohio
yeah,
State is so stacked.
right,
Um, so I think he's got a little bit of sneaky upside, does Carnell Tate. Um, but I agree. I don't see like a Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase
yeah,
jumping off the page, which is again why I think there's no contest at the 101.
yeah,
There's just one guy that looks like he could be immediately elite, and everybody else, you're hoping that they retain mid third round startup value or better. And the ones that break out might get a little bit ahead of that.
yep. All right. Well, we'll do another one of these once we figure out where these players are headed. Get a little
Yes.
more in depth next time, but until then, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.